Hello, hello, and welcome to Tapping Tuesday. My name is Fable, and for the next hour, we are going to engage in EFT, also known as tapping. Tapping. So, if that's what you're here for, congratulations, you're in the right place. If this is your first time here, welcome. If it is not your first time here, welcome back. I'm so glad to be spending this time with you today. I'm going to go through just a quick rundown of how things work here, and then we'll get right into the actual tapping. Now, if you've done EFT before, this session is going to be a little bit different just because the format's different, right? So we make it work the ways that we can. Some ways that it's a little bit different is suggestions back and forth, right? So tapping as a communal space, I do have a live chat that's going the entire time of the session. Please at any time feel free to put in there a suggestion that you would like to tap on. I do my very, very best to incorporate as many as I can, sometimes putting some of them together. But what I choose to tap on may not be something that you're exactly feeling or working on right now. And that's okay. I will help you with suggestions on how you can adjust what it is that I've selected, or even completely ignore what I'm doing and just tap along with whatever it is that you want to tap on. I want you to feel free to adjust circumstances to empower yourself to the best of your ability. Another way that I do that is when I tap, instead of going through all of the different areas, I tend to stay on one tapping spot. And there's two reasons for that. One is that the engagement through one acupoint, as far as EFT goes, is enough because of the way that this is signaling the brain, which is what we're wanting it to do while we're doing EFT. We're golden. As long as you're on one acupoint, that's enough. So I'll tend to stay here, and sometimes I'll go here, but I don't go through all of the spots very often. And what I want you to do is go at your own pace in whatever spot feels good to you to tap on. Because what I don't want to happen is I'm going through the spots and you're invested in, your own experience, and then you're here and you look at me and I'm down here, and then you get pulled out of that because then you think, oh no, I didn't move forward. Do I tap through all of them now? Do I skip down? What do I do? I would much rather me be very, very boring. And if you get lost, then you can look to me as an example of where to kind of pick back up. But otherwise, I want you paying attention to your own body and what's happening here. Okay, because that's where the magic happens, is in your body. And I am just here to help support and facilitate that. Now, if you do have a suggestion on tapping that just feels too vulnerable to put on the World Wide Web, then you're always available. I'm available for you to always email me. My email is at the top of the chat. I will also speak it. It is Fable, Fable, at EFTuniverse.com. And you can send your suggestion there. I'll bring it up the next week anonymously. Alrighty, let's see. I think I've covered all of my talking points. I will say hi really fast in the chat, and then we'll do just a quick grounding and then get right into our tapping session. All righty. Hi, Colleen. Oh, thank you. It's a new one. So thank you for that. Hi, Zarina. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Trisha. Hi, Donette. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Sam. Hi, Blast Scout. Oh, I'm sorry you're having a stressful day. I'm really glad you're able to be here. And Trisha is suggesting tapping for not keeping promises to ourselves. Whew, that's a big one. There's a lot of things that can be tied to, and I appreciate the suggestion. I definitely think that that's a very common circumstance. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Mary. Alrighty, and I actually don't have any community emails to contribute for this session. So it'll be everything that is in the chat, or if it's not fast flowing, the session, that's totally fine. I always have things that I can bring up to tap on as well. Serena, it's had a stressful week too. So I'm glad that we're all here for each other on that. Let's go ahead and take a moment to get grounded, and then we'll get right into tapping. So just right here, wherever you are, just take a breath as deep as it feels comfortable. Don't force it, okay? And breathe in and out. And we'll just pause. Kind of let that wave of what happens after a deep breath roll through your body. Let's just do that again. Let's take another breath as deep as it feels good. And out. And pause. Breathe normally. And just let that sense of calm that invites roll through your body. Now let's go ahead and notice our bodies. And just notice if how you're sitting, standing, laying, if it feels really good. And if it feels really good, let that sink in and just, yeah, this feels really good. If there's something that doesn't feel so good, like if you're sitting on your feet and now you're realizing they've fallen asleep, or you're sitting up really straight and now your back hurts, anything that can be relieved a little bit by just a really simple adjustment. Maybe you're cold, go grab a coat or a blanket or a sweater. Maybe you're hot, so go grab like a drink of ice water. Maybe you have to go to the bathroom, get up and go to the bathroom. It's okay. Now's a good time to go. But just check in with your body, let it know, hey, I'm paying attention to you now. We're paying to ourselves right now. What is something really quick and easy that I can give to you? And maybe the breathing was a thing. It could be getting smaller in your space, getting close in, especially if you're really stressed out. This can feel good. Maybe it's letting yourself expand, doing a couple of stretches, moving your joints around just real fast, get some energy flowing. Just choose 1 to 2, maybe 3 things. And just do them real fast. I think I'll sit a little bit differently. I'm kind of sitting crooked on my couch. That is not going to feel good in about 5 minutes. So there, that's better for me. Alrighty, let's take another breath in and let it out. Okay. And I'm going to check the chat one more time. I see lots of other suggestions. Good, good. Hi, Jordan. Okay, tapping for feeling safe within my body when I have anxiety or feeling anxious about being anxious. I really appreciate this, Jordan. I think this is a great thing to point out of, safety is such a big trigger in our subconscious brains to behave a certain way. And if we don't feel safe in our own bodies to feel the thing that we're feeling, then it does create more complexity to feeling better. I think that's a great point to make. So thank you for bringing that up. And Serena, confusion, lack of clarity, absolutely. Mary votes for anxiety. Colleen, self-sabotage, procrastination, fear of success, yes. And all of that tends to have deeper roots as well. So these tend to be kind of, I'll call it like ground level realizations. Like, I know I'm self-sabotaging. I know I'm procrastinating. I'm pretty sure I have this fear of success, but why? What's underneath that, where we got to kind of dig and figure out, is it I have a fear of being seen? I have a belief that if I'm seen, I'm going to be attacked. Is it, it's not real anyway. And if I actually try, I'm going to find that out. And then I'm going to be really depressed. There's something underneath those things. So I appreciate you bringing those up. Hi, Dr. Scott. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad that you're here. And Serena, maybe resistance, like to change, or things are hard and yucky but have to be done. Yeah, I appreciate that too. Dr. Scott and Tricia chatting. Alrighty. Let's see. Oh, and dissociation when it's not safe, which for me is always, almost always. Yeah, absolutely. So, going back up to the top. And I want to tie this in to self. Let's start with like, how do I prioritize myself? Like, how do I even do that? Or will it ever be safe to prioritize myself? Or can I give myself permission to prioritize myself? So look for a phrase that feels the most true or the most raw, emotional for prioritizing self. So whatever words go around that. And I'll never be able to prioritize myself. It's selfish to prioritize myself. It's not safe to prioritize myself. Um, I'm not strong enough to prioritize myself. Whatever it is, all of those things. I'm going to get smited by the greater energies that be if I prioritize myself, like I'll be punished in some way. Whatever you can recognize right now as that barrier. And if you have multiples, that's okay. That actually would make sense to have multiples. But choose one. Choose one to focus on for now and just trust that it's going to have a good effect for the rest as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and breathe through that because that was a lot of potentially bringing stuff up. So take a breath real fast. Okay, and let's start tapping. As I consider how I might reach a point to prioritize myself, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though, as I look into this question, there seems to be a lot surrounding it, and I don't know how to navigate that yet. I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. Even though right now there seems to be a lot in the way for me to prioritize myself in a way that feels good, I still choose right now to deeply and completely accept myself anyway. Prioritizing myself. Prioritizing me. Me being the priority. Me being my first priority. I wonder, what are all of the reasons that I can think of right now as to why this is not where I am yet? Why I don't prioritize myself? Well, let me count the ways. Maybe it doesn't feel right. I'm okay. I can take care of myself when I need to, and other people need my time and energy more. Maybe it doesn't feel safe. If I prioritize myself, I'm going to draw negative attention from people who are really going to judge me about doing it. Maybe I don't prioritize myself because that's what selfish people do. They make everybody else put up with all of their problems and they demand that they get comfortable and receive what they need first, and everybody else goes without. Mm, Maybe I believe that there's just not enough hours in the day. There's just not. Not everything can be prioritized. Not everybody gets attention. Not everybody gets their needs met. And I do the best with what I can. But it just means that I am not a priority unless I need it more than other people. Even if I really feel the truth of these things and others about why it makes sense to me, and it would be very difficult for me to change this, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. Maybe I'll never be my own priority. Maybe it will never happen. I will never, ever put my needs first, and I will always put myself last. Maybe that will always happen. And even if that always happens, I still choose right now to deeply and completely accept myself. Why would I accept myself if I'm agreeing that I may never take care of myself? Hmm. Maybe because I'm choosing to appreciate myself right now. I appreciate myself with my problems. I appreciate myself with my struggles. I appreciate myself with my shortcomings. I appreciate myself for trying even when I don't have the best ways to move forward. I choose to deeply and completely accept myself because I deeply and completely accept myself. And I don't put any boundaries on that. I'm choosing to just be. And yeah, I've got struggles and I've got questions and certain ways that I function that may or may not ever be fixed. But I choose right now to care for myself anyway. I choose right now to feel good about who I am right now anyway. And to no longer feel bad about who I am not. My goodness, if I look at everything in the world, every possible thing that there is to excel at, that's way more things than I could ever be, ever. So if that's what I'm holding as a line before I can accept myself, I'll never reach it. But if if I just let myself accept who I am right now, maybe maybe that is part of this answer. Maybe that is allowing me to be a priority in some way because I'm acknowledging me and where I am. And maybe prioritizing myself isn't pressure. Maybe it's not supposed to be a way to put myself down that I don't make it to the top 10 of my endless list of things that I do or try to do. Maybe prioritizing myself is different than that. Hmm. Prioritizing me, different. Prioritizing myself, different. Okay, but how? How is it different? Well, what if instead of expecting myself to completely change and behave differently or do something or not do something, what if I gave myself the priority of feelings. Feelings. Hmm. What do I mean by feelings? What if I made it okay for me to feel however I feel? And what if I gave myself choices? Because, sure, there are interactions that I have where I really need to behave a certain way. And maybe I have to outwardly choose a different emotion or energy than I'm completely feeling inwards. But I allow space for both to exist, for both to be valid, where it's okay for me to feel how I feel. And it's okay for me to choose what I choose, even if I know what I'm choosing will have a certain outcome that I'm not going to be thrilled with later. What if I choose even then to be kind to myself and to cheerlead myself? Okay, I mean, in theory, that sounds nice. But what would that actually change for me? How does that help me feel better? How does that help me move forward? How does that help me be more brave, accomplish more things, show up when I have to, even when I don't want to? As I consider how this can help me in tough scenarios, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay. So maybe putting myself first doesn't mean I always get my way. Maybe putting myself first doesn't mean I don't have to follow through on some commitments or situations that I would rather not deal with. But what if it does mean those scenarios, those moments in time do not get to dictate to me how I feel? Maybe I have feelings about them. Absolutely. That makes sense. And I allow that, but they're transitional. What if prioritizing myself means I carry around with me my own space, my own energetic space, my own vibe? I allow myself to tune into a space where I'm cared for and I'm thought of and I'm loved and I'm safe. And I think that would feel really good. And in situations where I do get to choose, where I do get to select if I want to engage or not, that could really help me decide how hard it's going to be for me to keep my safe space with me. And maybe I will make better choices for myself when I can. And in those times when I can't, it's just something I have to deal with. I would be aware of what exactly I have to deal with. because maybe I'm being handed more and agreeing to carry more than I actually have to. Because maybe I have to do the thing, I don't have to carry that emotion. Maybe I have to talk to the person and, ooh, maybe they get me riled up, but I don't have to keep that. So maybe this is how that works. Maybe this is how I can start to explore prioritizing myself. Prioritizing myself. Prioritizing feelings. Prioritizing what gets to live inside of me. And permission to kick things out that are not my priority and that are not mine, that I don't have to deal with. And as I give myself permission to try this out, I choose to be kind as I try and aware of what works. And I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, pause tapping, take a breath. Now, notice just real quick when you think about prioritizing yourself, how does that feel now versus how it felt when we first started tapping? Does it feel more open, more possible? I wouldn't expect for that to be completely eradicated. Like if it's completely gone, wow, that's amazing, good job. But more, this is a possibility, an opening, a foundation has been set of something that you can become curious on and maybe tap away other, threads that are kind of holding you back from that. But now you have a pathway where your brain can be curious about it and go, oh, huh, perhaps, and continue to be curious about that pathway and build that for you as you continue on with life. So if you were yawning, stretching, crying, sighing, if you're sleepy, if you're energetic, if you had some shift of space in your mind or in your body, those are really good signs that your subconscious brain heard something in there that it liked and is starting to shift perspective and will continue doing that. So congratulations and good job. All right, let's see what we're going to tap on next. Hi, Karen. Oh, thank you. And yes, adorable is fine. I love that. Thank you. Oh, no, I was glitching. Am I okay now? Um, Sorry about that, Serena. Um, let's go ahead and tap on stress. On let's see if I don't know if I want to narrow that down at all. You can focus on a, oh, thank you, last count. It can be a specific type of stress. Like I'm stressed about, this thing I'm currently in, this thing I'm worried about being in. I'm stressed about this past thing that I should be over that's just not gone yet. I can't get it off of me. Um, any sort of thing that when you think about it, you feel that feeling, that clench or that tightening or however that is in your body. But just a heightened sense of anxiety could work as well as a word. I'm going to stay with stress. If you want to shift it to a different word, you can. But we're all dealing with a lot of stress, right? And some of that comes from over information And there's a lot of unrest happening in the world, but I also mean that in terms of opportunity, right? It used to be we didn't have access to medical information aside from medical professionals, right? And now you can go on the internet and Google anything, but how valid is that information? We have access to things, we can read things, but what's good? How do we know? It could be a career that you're looking at, a job that you're seeking, a place that you're looking to move to. There's so many things that we can focus on. Sometimes just having all the options is in and of itself a big source of stress. So, wondering how to tamper that, even though it's not likely something that you can set down and walk away from. Okay. So let's go ahead and start tapping as we think about this, as you consider stress. And if you're having trouble naming something specific, consider how it feels in your body. So if you're feeling stressed and you're going, I'm not sure why I'm feeling this today, I can't pin it on anything. How do you know you're feeling it? Do you feel busy in your head? Do you feel clenching in your belly? Do you feel stiffness in your neck? When you think of stress, if you can't put it on a word, put it on the sensation in your body. Okay. As I consider this stress that I'm currently experiencing, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though this stress is disruptive and I don't want it, but I have it, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. Even though this stress is a lot and I feel it, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself anyway. Okay, now we're going to work on calming down our nervous system and getting really bored with paying attention to our stress. So let's switch to the 9 gamut point, which is, this tapping spot. If you just rotate your hand, you're going to fall right into it. It's just right in between those bones right there. And you can line all your fingertips up like that. If you're not quite sure you're going to get it, this way you will for sure. If you've never done this technique before, it's going to look a little weird, but it works really great. Does a lot of things neurologically that I'm not going to explain, so you're just going to have to trust me. But we're going to move our eyes around the edges of our periphery while keeping our nose straight forward. So I'll give you an example. If you've never done it, just watch me. This is what it looks like. We'll look straight up and then slowly go in a circle. And you may see my eyes kind of bounce around a little bit, and that will happen to each person in different spots. And that just has to do sometimes with muscle stress of your eyeballs themselves, but also other things that are going on. So it's okay. And you can also choose whichever direction your eyes go in. All right. So go ahead and keep tapping while we're doing this. Hold your nose straight forward as much as possible and look straight up at the ceiling and just choose a direction. We'll go both ways and slowly start rotating your eyes while you are tapping. And repeat after me. This stress, this stress in my body, this stress in my mind, this stress in my energy, this big stress, all of this stress. The danger of this stress. dangerous stress. Okay, and wherever you are in your circles, just go ahead and reverse, go the opposite direction. Dangerous stress. Alert. The alertness I feel with this stress. Alerting stress. Dangerous stress. Stress in my body. Stress in my mind. Stress in my present. Stress in my future. All of this stress. Okay, now relax your eyes. You can blink. Just look at something kind of nearby. Let your muscles get used to working the normal way again. Okay, and let's go ahead and move back to our original point. As I consider all of the stress that I feel, I deeply and completely accept myself. It's okay that I feel stressed. It really is. It's okay. It's understandable. It makes sense that I'm stressed. It makes a lot of sense. Of course, this is stressful. Of course, it is. What a normal response for me to have to all of this input. It's okay. It's okay that I feel stressed. In fact, I offer myself some compassion and kindness, maybe tenderness for all of this stress that I feel. That's hard to carry. It's hard to feel. It's hard to function through. Stress is complicated. So, yeah, I offer some kindness to myself because I'm very aware of all that I feel and all that I'm going through because of this stress. This stress. Kindness for myself. I wonder, what are the things that I notice, that I choose to notice right now, that I say to myself when I'm this stressed? Do I choose statements, or do I feel more reactive in my statements? And do I say things that feel supportive, or do I say things as a result of how overwhelmed I feel? As I consider the voice inside of me and how it speaks when I'm stressed, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even if this inner voice isn't very kind, even if it's mean, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. Even if this voice is spiraling and is so negative and only focuses on what could be worse, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. And even if this voice just adds to the stress, not helpful at all. And even if I don't feel like I have energy to make it feel helpful, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. I accept the words of this voice. I accept the attitude of this voice. I accept the message of this voice. And I wonder, what is the message? What does that mean? Maybe as I consider this stress and the voice that's translating this stress, maybe there are things that parts of me are looking to be heard, that I don't let them be heard because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what they might say. I'm afraid of that what they might say could be true or that they'll make it true if it's voiced. I'm afraid it'll be too much to hear and I won't be able to keep it together anymore. Maybe I'm afraid it will mean something about me. Mm. As I consider these and other possibilities about what I tell myself as I am in this stress, I choose to accept myself anyway. Even if I don't know why this is how I operate, even if I don't think this is how I should operate, even if I think I'm broken, I think the way that I stress is a lost cause, even if I'm embarrassed about it, I feel childish for it. In whatever way I feel about how I feel stress, I choose to deeply and completely accept myself anyway. Because maybe the reason this feels so hard and so big is because I don't have the structure to withstand it. I mean, isn't that true of any definition of stress? You place a weight on something that isn't made to hold that weight, it overstresses it and it collapses. Isn't that true for me too? Maybe that's why I collapse. I don't have the structure. I don't have that support. And maybe someone was supposed to teach me and they didn't. And maybe they didn't because they weren't there. Maybe they didn't because they didn't know either. And maybe they didn't because they just didn't pay attention to me and teach it to me. But whatever the reason, maybe it's not my my own deficit. So if it's not something that I'm just lacking, and maybe I can let go of some of the weight of the fact that I don't have it yet. In fact, maybe I can even be kind of impressed with myself that without the proper support, I'm still doing this good. I'm still doing this good with all of this stress. Maybe I'm not super equipped with political information or job security or financial security information or another category of something that I feel I'm faced with decisions in that I, at some point, will need to take action on. And that's stressful. Well, of course, that's stressful. And maybe if I allowed myself to see it as this structure and the lack of support in the structure, I could allow myself some space for compassion, space for relief, let go of some of that self judgment. And maybe then it'll be easier to see what's my next step, to see what do I need to do to gather that support. Do I read a book? Do I look for an article? Do I listen to a podcast? Do I talk with a friend? Do I enroll in a course? While this stress and the solutions for this stress may not be completely within my ability to control, there probably is something that's affecting me that I can offer support to, that can at least alleviate some, if not a large amount, of the stress. Yeah, that sounds really good. But how do I even start? What do I do? Still feels big. Maybe it feels confusing. It's multifaceted. It's fair. So what would be consistent then? If I know the stress is constantly changing, what's consistent? Maybe it's me. I know I'm dealing with it. So maybe my first step is to just notice, wow, I feel really impacted by this. And then noticing how I feel impacted by this. Well, I feel stressed because I don't know enough about this subject. I don't know if they're telling the truth or not. Well, I feel stressed because I have to make a decision, and this decision is going to have an important outcome. And I can't predict what that's going to be. And as I have these conversations with myself, maybe that will show me the support that's being asked for. And then I'll know. Then I'll know my choices on what I can do. This stress, around me, my choices, inside of me. And as I give myself permission to try this out at whatever pace feels good to me, I deeply and completely accept myself. Pause and take a breath. Now take just a moment and notice when you say to yourself, this stress, whatever the sentence was that you chose, how does that feel in your body right now versus how it felt before we tapped on it? And if you notice that you feel less affected by it, if you feel more calm, if you feel more grounded, if you feel more capable, you feel more logical, if you're feeling uh, any amount of release in your body, if you were tuning into an area where you were feeling it, does it feel more open now, more relaxed now, more safe now? Those and all the other things that I've mentioned before about sighing, crying, deep breathing, um, are all signs that your subconscious brain has found a way to release the tension, the fear, the anxiety from the action, the necessary steps. And that is so powerful. So, congratulations. It's a big thing to do. Even before you have any sort of solution, that in and of itself will give you so much more space to seek a solution. So, good job. Alrighty, and we have enough time for one quick little tap. Hi, Cherry. Hello, yes. Vehicle shut down, not processing emotions. That sounds like overwhelm. Yes. Um, okay. So I see you're asking about all the tapping points. I only stick to one point. I talk about this at the beginning of the sessions. So welcome. You must be new. I love that you're here. I stay on one point because I don't want anyone to feel like they have to pay attention to me to stay focused. I want you focused on your own body. So please go through all the points as you feel is a good pace for you. And I'm just here in case you what was I doing, and you need to get back into the session. Hi, Marion. Yay, Blast Scout. Oh, I'm so glad. Yay, Trisha. Thank you. Yay, yay, yay. Good job. You're very welcome, Peg. Okay. If you need to kind of shake that one out, if that went heavy, let's tap.